And this is England, or to be more precise, Sherwood Forest, at least Q's recreation of it.
That would explain these costumes.
Quite right, number one. Or should I say, John Little.
Well, if he's Little John, that makes you...
I know. Robin Hood.
Sir, I protest. I am not a merry man.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are huge Star Trek nerds, Dory is a Star Trek novice, and we are taking her on our first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we're talking about the Season 4 episode Qpid, original air date April 20th in 1991. A 420 episode. Ugh.
Ooh.
And
nice.
I will excitedly take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay. Okay, I'll start off by saying this must have been an absolute blast to film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so we start off. The Enterprise is going to be serving as a host for the Federation Archaeology Council's annual symposium. And Picard will be giving the keynote address.
I love how excited he is by that because he's a huge nerd.
Mm-hmm.
It's adorable, and I love it. And he has been studying, they're right by his planet, Tegus 3, and he is, like, super nervous and keeps making all these changes to his speech, and Troy's like, bro, you gotta stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Just
like,
chill
just
out.
leave it. Yeah. But Picard is, like, studied super hard about this planet, and he just, like, he sees himself as, like, an amateur, and there's some, like, real bigwigs there that, he just, like, wants to, like, look good. And then freaking Vosh shows up, and I was like, psyched to see her. She looks amazing. And I just wrote, that better not be Q. I wrote this better not be Q like 3 times in my notes before we met Q.
That is a fair fear.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's like, I came through the window. Oh, lol. Oh, yeah, she's in his quarters. Picard goes back to his room. There she is. So they kiss. It's adorable. And then she's not actually a member of the council, which, okay, something to note. How do they not have to show credentials or something for getting on the ship? Because it seems like she just showed up with a bunch of equipment and they were just like, okay.
This is the same show that doesn't go down to the planet with any safety equipment.
That's true. No, there's like no monitoring of anything. Like, Christ. Who knows could be coming onto the ship. Okay, so then, my dream, Picard's nightmare. Dr. C's at the door.
Yeah, while him and Vosh are having breakfast.
Yes, yeah. She's like, yes, we come and have tea in the morning. And Vosh is like, oh, that's nice. And, Dr. C's wearing the really nice blue sweater from last episode, but not off the shoulder this time. But that's okay. She looks amazing. The blue is incredible. So Vosh is, like, surprised to hear that, like, nobody has heard of her. Picard has not told a single person on the ship that he met this woman one time. And she's, like, upset. I'm like, I don't know. You guys are up to some pretty sketchy things. I'm not sure. I like kind of understand.
I actually
like,
kind of wanted to criticize the fact that they made that such an issue in this because it seems like this character that would not, like a character like this should not really have the kinds of issues that she does with requiring that kind of validation, and yet does. So I found that a very weird choice. One thing I will give them credit for, at the very least, in terms of consistency, is this was not a random writer bringing Vosh back. This was Ira Stephen Bear being brought back to the show. So he came back just to write this episode because he was like, dude, I can do a Robin Hood episode. I'm so in.
Spoilers.
I cannot believe Ira Stephen Bear wrote this episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, his time on TNG was not particularly big. He was only really there for like 2 years, and one of those he was kind of the
I just mean, all I mean is that, like, given the kinds of episodes that he wrote in, like, DS9 and stuff, like what he did with DS9.
Yeah, that's
I can't
fair.
believe he wrote the, like, cheesy fucking Robin Hood episode.
Hey, everybody's got to have fun.
Yeah, that's true. It's still funny.
Oh yeah, so Picard looks like he's gonna absolutely explode. And Dr. C is gonna take Vosh on a tour of the Enterprise, which is what I would have given to, like, be a fly on the wall of that conversation.
Yeah, if you don't watch the
Amazing.
episode and you want to know the vibes, it's like
Incredible.
it's like two of your exes meeting each other and having a chat, you know?
And incredible. And there is no, like they had a fun vibe, like Vosh and Dr. C. They were just, both of them, seemed like they were just trying to, like, it wasn't like they weren't being confrontational or adversarial to each other. It just felt very like, let's make Picard as uncomfortable as possible together.
Yes.
And I loved it. So then Dr. C brings Vosh to 10 forward, in which Riker immediately notices her. I'm like, honestly, fair.
Yeah.
And he comes over and she's like, oh yeah, I actually wrote, Riker has noticed Vosh. Is Vosh Q? I just read it so many times because I wasn't sure. So then Dr. C is called away, and so Riker takes over the tour, and he brings her up to the bridge where she meets Geordi and Data, and he, like, introduces her to Worf, and he's just, like, not happy she's on the bridge, but eventually, like, meets her properly. So then Vosh is like, oh, is this where the captain sits? And then she sits in his chair and, like, puts her feet up on the chair too.
Yeah.
Gets comfortable. And then Picard's like, can we, like, go out of this room? Oh yeah, Vosh is also surprised that, okay, so now I guess this is, I think this is, like, at the reception for the council thing.
Yeah.
So Vosh is talking to Troy, and she's, like, surprised that Troy hasn't heard of her either. And they all just keep saying that Picard is pretty private, so, like, this is pretty, like, on brand for him to, like, not share this information. But Vosh is, like, really, like, not happy about this.
She's taking it quite personally, yeah.
And then Worf goes, nice legs for a human.
Yeah.
Like, Worf, what the
That
fuck?
was a really weird choice to keep in
It was
the
so
thing.
weird. Yeah. Okay, so then Vosh confronts Picard about not telling anyone about her. And I'm just like, you guys met once.
Yeah.
Did you guys keep in touch past that point? Because, like, this is a weird thing to be upset over. Like, I don't understand the problem here.
Yeah.
So then she's like, I'm sorry if being here embarrasses you. And I'm like, this makes no sense. How would her being there this makes no, like, at no point was he like, I'm embarrassed you're here. So he's like, ugh. So he goes to his office, and who's sitting behind the desk? It's Q. With almost the same haircut as my dad years ago.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, his haircut
Weird.
in this was a really bad decision.
Yeah,
I
like,
thought
it was
it
too
looked
long
good
in
on
the
him.
back for my dad. Like,
Ugh.
he had a very similar haircut of my dad when I was younger, but, like, Q's hair was too long in the back.
I'm biased because I'm pro mullet, so
Oh,
I liked
anti-mullet.
I liked his hair.
So then Q goes, Jean-Luc, it's wonderful to see you again. How about a big hug? And then we fade to commercial break, but
Yeah.
no commercial break. So then he goes, well, don't just stand there, say something. And Picard goes, get out of my chair.
Yeah.
So Q explains that, like, he owes a debt to Picard. And he goes, without your assistance, on our last encounter, I would have never have survived. I would have taken my own life, but for you. And then Picard goes, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god. Picard, holy shit, that was
Cold.
awful. Yeah, ice cold, holy shit. So Q wants to grant Picard, quote unquote, constructive wish. And he read Picard's speech and thinks it's boring. rude. And he's like, oh, how could you like talk about a place you've never been? Because Picard did a speech about the ruins of Tagus 3, but he's never been because it was closed, like the ruins were closed down many years ago. So in general, there's no access to it. So Q's like, what if I bring you there? And Picard's like, nope, that's like breaking the law. He goes, what if I bring you back in time there? And Picard's like, yeah, no, this is like, no. And then Q goes, you are simply the most impossible person to buy a gift for. And I took that to heart because I am a very hard person to buy stuff for. So then Q leaves and Riker comes in. And Picard says to Riker, I've been paid a visit from Q. And Riker goes, Q? Any idea what he's up to? And then Picard goes, he wants to do something nice for me. And Riker goes, I'll alert the crew.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so funny. Okay, so then Picard goes to see Vash. And surprise, she's not actually here to see Picard. She's here to break into the ruins down in the planet. And she's got like a map on her tablet. I know. Ooh, plot twist. And he literally just like walks into the other room and pulls out a bunch of her equipment.
Yeah.
And was like, yeah, we're going to have to confiscate this. Meanwhile, he does not. He leaves the room without the equipment. But, okay, Picard. So, yeah, that's just like, how did she even get on the ship with this shit? Like, I don't know. So Vash like finds these like artifacts in a kind of can be a sketchy way, and then she sells them. And Picard's like, yeah, not under my roof. And she's like, I can't change for you or anyone. And I'm like, nobody's asking you to change. She's just saying don't commit a crime while you're on the Enterprise. And he's like, I can't do that either. I'm like, you guys, this argument makes no sense. I do not understand what is happening. Like, this is so dumb. And then Picard leaves. And then we see Q's face coming out from the ceiling. It was so scary. It was so funny. It's on an angle, but it just comes into the room. It's like floating. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's a very badly done effect.
It's loud. It's so weird. Okay, now cut to Picard's room where he's getting into bed, and then Q shows up. Yeah. And Q's like, oh yeah, you're just like everyone else. You're weak and brought down by a woman. I'm like, I don't see the problem here. So Q goes, she's found a vulnerability in you. A vulnerability I've been looking for years. If I had known sooner, I would have appeared as a female. Just like, wow, Q. Wow. Yeah. So my theory, like me worrying that Vash was cute, was not all that off in retrospect.
The more I rewatch TNG, the more I'm like, is there like a vibe between like Q and Picard?
Yes.
At least like one way, Q to Picard.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Might have to switch over to Q card. Q card.
Q card. Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're the next day. Picard goes up, starts to do his speech. Everything's fine until a hat pops onto Dr. C's head. And I immediately was like, is that not a Robin Hood hat? Like, what's happening here? And then one pops on Troy's head. And then Riker, like a staff appears in Riker's hand. And then a cloak and like a turkey leg appears on Data. And then Picard turns into Robin Hood, and then he disappears, and surprise, Picard with a goatee and the bridge crew are in Sherwood Forest.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
Yeah. I made the very deliberate choice not to tell you about any of the Robin Hood stuff in the description.
This is so funny. Okay, so here's sort of the breakdown of the crew. Okay, Riker is Little John. Obviously. Picard, Robin Hood. I hate the goatee, but I'll allow it. I know it's... Well, I just don't like goatees in general, so it's nothing personal for Picard. I'm just not a goatee gal. But I would assume it's kind of like a nod to the Errol Flynn version.
Yeah, probably.
Guess.
I mean, this film came out around the same time as Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in the early 90s.
Which is funny, because he's wearing almost the exact same outfit.
Yeah, they did that on purpose.
Carrie Elway's in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, okay, yeah. Fair.
He's wearing almost the exact same outfit. It's truly like I Googled it just in case. I was like, this is very familiar.
But yeah, it was a really weird choice that they made to do this because essentially...
No, it was incredible. I have no problems with this.
Let me finish. Because essentially they flat out said, well, we were going to do Camelot, but then we thought, oh, Robin Hood's really popular right now. Let's do that. And I was just like, oh, that's it? You just did it because a movie was coming out? That sucks.
Okay, but have you seen Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? That movie is wild. That Kevin Costner's accent...
Oh yeah,
it's truly the biggest mystery of the show. Well, because it's legendary. It shows up and then it disappears, and then it comes back, and that movie is fucking wild.
Don't they make fun of that in Men in Tights?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they go. Unlike some Robin Hoods, I speak with an English accent.
Yeah.
In case it's a little unclear, I used to like Robin Hood stuff when I was younger, and it's kind of like I remember all this shit. I don't know. The stories were fun. And then, okay, Worf is Will Scarlet, but I wrote Worf Scarlet. Because they put him all in red, and it's amazing. Geordi is Alana Dale, and Data is Friar Tuck, complete with a bald cap. And then this guy appears, and I wrote, this guy appears, and I was like, wait, that could be Guy of Gisborne. I unintentionally, it's like, because I wrote, it's got to be either Guy or the sheriff. Mm-hmm. The guy was Guy.
Yeah.
And like Worf immediately charges for Guy, and I just wrote, has this become my new favorite episode? And then like these archers are firing the arrows, and Picard's like, retreat into the forest. And so I just wrote, is Vosh Marion? She is, but we didn't get to that quite yet at this point. So then Q shows up. He's the sheriff, and Q honestly looks amazing. It's quite a good look, and he lets us know that Vosh / Marion is going to be executed. And Q goes, what is the one thing that Robin Hood is most famous for? And Geordi goes, he robs from the rich and gives to the poor. And then Q goes, besides that.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. But it's basically, and like, this is not what Robin Hood's known for, but like, whatever. Q's like, saving or not saving Marion. I don't know. All of these are done in different ways. Doesn't matter. So then, also, during this whole scene, I couldn't stop laughing because Troy's hat was so long. And I don't know if you noticed, she was looking up the entire scene because I think the brim of her hat, like if she put her head forward, it was too low and she wouldn't have been able to see. So her head is literally tilted up in like the entire scene. Every time they cut to her and Data, it was so funny. So, okay, Q goes, is Vosh's life worth more than Data's or Troy's or Worf's? You know, Worf, you'd make a perfect throw rug in Nottingham Castle. Poor Worf. Q just loves to dunk on Worf.
You've skipped over the best line in the whole episode. When,
what line is that?
When Picard's explaining what's going on and Data points out, and it's like, by your attire, it would appear that you are Will Scarlet. And then Worf is like, I must protest. I am not a merry man.
Oh, I wrote that down somewhere because I thought that was funny.
That's my favorite line of the whole
that was
episode.
Earlier. Oh, yeah, I skipped that because I went from reading who everybody was, and Worf's line is in between Geordi and Data's stuff and Riker, Picard, and Worf's listing. Yeah. Yes, that was pretty great. Sir, I must protest. I'm not a merry man. Worf, he's not. He's truly not.
Michael Dorn's delivery of that line is just so good.
Is incredible. Honestly, everybody was great in this episode. Mm-hmm. So Q makes it pretty clear, if they go to Nottingham Castle, blood will be spilled. Now we are back at we are at the castle, and we see Vosh. She looks incredible. Mm-hmm. The costume, you know what? I won't say anything. it was fine. But she looks great. She's she's so funny in this scene. So there's like her lady in waiting. She's like, "Oh, my poor lamb, you've got brain sickness for sure. Oh, can't I get you something for your suffering?" And Vosh is like, "I could use a drink." And then he goes, "Well, I wasn't thinking of a spirit, my lady, but I have some nice fresh leeches." It's like, oh no. And Vasha has she has two braids, really long braids in her hair, but near the bottom it looks like her braids have been handcuffed to each other.
Yeah, she has this weird metal funny thing, keeping them together. Yeah. It's weird.
It's really interesting choice. Okay, so then Guy comes in and he asks Vosh to marry him. She slaps him in the face. So that was funny. And then back to the Merry Bridge crew. Geordie's playing the mandolin and Worf comes over and he takes it and smashes it on the tree, hands it back to Geordie and goes, "Sorry."
I believe that is an Animal House reference.
It is.
Oh, I've never seen Animal House.
It is intended to be one, yeah.
Animal House is, it's super problematic. Yeah.
I know the movie, I just haven't seen it. Oh, yeah. I think a lot of 80s movies have some massive issues.
Yeah, but there is a scene in that movie in which someone's playing an acoustic guitar, and then I think it's John Belushi's character actually who comes by and smashes it.
It's great. Okay, so now we cut to Troy, who's attempting to shoot an arrow at a tree. But we go to Data, and he's been shot with the arrow in the gut, basically. But Data's fine, and his bald cap is wild.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I think it's
you're getting better.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be at the top of his android head, so it has the little compartments for where you open up to access his brain.
Oh, I just meant in general. That hairdo I always find to be absolutely
the
wild.
monk do, yeah.
Yeah. So Picard, I wrote, he's dressed just like Carrie Elway's in Men in Tights. So Vosh decides to accept Guy's marriage proposal. And this absolutely, Q is absolutely shook to the core. Mm-hmm. He is very surprised, but then he goes over and they're about to cheers, but then he says "Oh, the drinks are poison," and because she still loves Robin, and Vosh is "Yeah, I was under a spell, and it was a long time ago," and Robin who? Yeah. And then okay. Then Guy calls Vosh if you have
gross.
to call. If you're calling the person that you want to marry my child or a creature, run. Yeah. Run. That is bad. That is, if you are old enough to call this person your child, that's gross. That's bad. That's very, very bad. So, yeah, you should not be allowed to marry anyone who refers to you as my child. Okay, so then Picard's in a disguise. I quote unquote disguise. Mm-hmm. It's the second you just see him moving in the background, I'm Picard?
Yeah.
What you doing back there? So then he breaks poorly into Vosh's room and goes to the window. And honestly, this scene made me laugh. It was funny. He's trying to get her to leave, but she's maybe not. So he goes, "Come on, we don't have much time." And she goes, are the others outside? And Picard goes, "They're waiting for us in the Sherwood Forest. And Vosh goes, "You mean you came here alone?" And then Picard's "That's right, now come on." And Vosh is "What kind of plan is that?" And Picard's "It's an excellent one if you just hurry up." Their banter was very funny, of him just being "Let's fucking go." And she's "Hey, but I have questions."
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's not impressed with this one-man rescue, and she's "Listen, I will marry Guy if I have to, and figure out, shit from there." So then Picard throws her over his shoulder, and then, that exact moment, the door opens, and Guy's "Hello," and then Picard turns around and puts her down, and then she very smoothly just, takes his sword and, puts it, holds it against him, and it's that is... not good for you, Vosh, but that just was very smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then they arrest Picard and they're "You're double execution." Or no, that's later. Just kidding. It's nah, still execution. Picard will die now. So Vosh asks her lady to take this letter to the Merry bridge crew.
Yeah.
Even though she's like, oh, it's dangerous, and there's this, and Vosh is like, I don't give a shit. Get this letter to them, thanks. And then Q comes in, and he's like, I'm impressed with your ruthlessness. And then he notices her letter to Riker to like come save Picard, and he's like, I think we're gonna have a double execution now. So then, then Picard and Vosh argue to their execution.
Yeah.
And the bridge crew, again, hiding in the most plain sight because they're all in these red robes.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
And they very, like, deliberately walk, like, in front of the camera and stuff, and you're like, that's very clearly the rest of the crew, like, hiding.
Yeah, it was not subtle, but it was incredible, and I loved it. Okay, so then they're like, Data, we need to diversion. So he, like, opens his hand and drops a thing into this fire, and there's a small explosion that distracts people enough for Picard to kick a guy's ass and, like, try to get out of there. And so then everybody's fighting. We get to see Riker with his staff, and then Geordi and Worf fighting, and then I was like, where's the ladies? And then we get to see Dr. C smash something over a guy's head, and her face was like, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And then we see Troy do it, and she's like, let's never do that again.
Yeah. I love that apparently sword fighting is part of Starfleet training.
Yeah, because
also, except for the ladies, apparently they weren't allowed.
They
to...
can just they're allowed to smash shit.
Fun bit of background about that: the only people on the cast who are actually trained in fencing and swordsmanship are Marina Sirtis and Gates McFadden.
Oh my god!
And they were the only ones not allowed to sword fight.
Why?
That's absolutely fucked.
That's bullshit.
That would have been incredible watching them to fight, because like, oh my god, just them having to save the day, or just letting them fight. We get to see Geordi and Worf and Riker, like, that would have been incredible just to see them getting to like sword fight and kick some ass rather than just smashing things on people's head. Well, they each get one smash.
Yeah, it was still kind of funny though to see them like
it was
smash
great.
them ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just Dr. C's face was just like, let's do it again. Let me keep smashing. She looked like she was having a good time. Okay, so then, like, Picard stabs Guy and, like, I guess kills him. But we don't really know. So then he, like, runs into this room, finds Vosh. They kiss. Then Q shows up on a windowsill, slow clapping. He's also crouched up there. It's a choice. And then he's like, love is your weakness and blah, blah, blah. And then Vosh is like, no, it's his strength. I'm like, Christ, this is the argument everybody's making here? What a wild choice to go with this direction, but whatever. So they're like, okay, I think we like figured shit out. Let's go back to the real world. So back on, so they have the bridge crew, and Picard appears like back in the room where he was doing the speech, but nobody else is there. So what the fuck happened? Was this happening in real time? Did people just be like, well, our keynote speaker has disappeared, and I guess we call it a day and just wander around the Enterprise? Or like, how does that work? What happens now?
They don't make it clear. They don't really explain like where in time this is.
Yeah, so then Picard's like, can I speak to Vosh? And like, Vosh is not on the Enterprise. And it's like, well, fuck. So then, in a little turn of events, Vosh appears on Picard's sofa in an incredible, like, adventure safari outfit. Where has she been? Oh, yes, she's been at the ruins, and guess who her new partner is? Q. I can't... Okay. Last episode, I'd said that I would finance an episode or, like, a show about Worf doing Dr. C's acting workshop. I would finance an entire spin-off of Vosh and Q fucking Indiana Jonesing it all over the place. That would be, like, how did this not become, like, a backdoor pilot or something? This would have been incredible.
Yes, I
oh my God.
agree. And it makes, personally, I think it makes so much sense for her to go off with Q.
Yeah, those two just, like, hamming it up, and she doesn't have the, like, she's willing to do whatever to, like, do what she wants to do, and like, Q definitely is more of that vibe. I just think they'd be so fun getting up to hijinks and shit. Like, I would love that. And so, yeah, he's like, we're gonna go. So then he's like, don't you want to kiss her goodbye? And then they're just sort of look at Q and they're like, yeah, but fuck off first.
Yeah.
So then Q disappears. She goes over. They're about to kiss. Then Q comes back. He's like, oh, I forgot my hat. And then he leaves. And then they kiss. And then the episode is done. Yeah, what a fucking absolute ball of an episode. I mean, truly made no sense, but I don't care. It was a good fucking time.
Yeah, it was a hell of a romp.
I laughed so hard at so many points in this episode. Not because they were necessarily funny, just of the, like, surprise of this shit happening.
Yeah.
And just, like, the novelty of it all. This was real fun. I have some criticisms, but for the most part, this was a real good time.
Yeah. I didn't know that you had, like, a special, like, affinity for Robin Hood stuff.
When I was younger, I used to... Well, I watched there was the Robin Hood BBC show, like, many, many years... I think when I was in high school or something, and I really liked that, and then it kind of, like... You know when you're a teenager and you're like, oh, I like this one thing. What else is related to this one thing? And now I need to devour everything attached to this one thing.
Yeah.
So I did that. Kind of a mistake. But now I am weirdly familiar with a lot of Robin Hood shit.
Yeah.
So sort of.
Yeah. So like basically, I didn't know that you had like a special connection to Robin Hood stuff, but I knew that this was going to be your type of episode.
So yeah, it was just a bonus. I mean, I don't care that much about Robin Hood now, but like it was still like teenage me would have like lost. Like, I laughed so hard at this, but teenage me would have lost, like, their fucking mind. But, yeah, it was really fucking fun. Ugh. This actually, it's kind of funny, because last episode, I think I was like, it'd be really fun to see them do, like, a play or something. But this, like, is basically, this is better. This is better than having to, like, be the characters and... It was fun. I wish we got, honestly, like, less of the stuff in that castle and just more of the bridge crew shenanigans, like, in the forest, because that would have been so much fun.
I wonder
just having
if
them be stuck there longer.
I wonder if they made Riker Little John so that he could have a stick he could lean on. I
noticed that.
Yeah.
Like, he was standing on it quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I think I've said before that, like, Jonathan Frakes has, like, back problems. Like,
yeah, he does.
Like, he suffers suffers from some back issues, so it makes sense, you know.
It does.
But were Troy and Dr. Crusher, like, were they any specific characters, or were they just, like, did they run out and are, like, you're just generic Merryman?
I can't think of any other, like, well, here's the thing, like, I used to, high school was many years ago.
Yeah.
So I honestly actually even forgot about, like, when they were listing everybody, I was like, oh, okay, Worf's gotta be Worf Scarlet because of the red outfit. And they're like, Geordi is Alan Adale. And I was like, who the fuck is Alan Adale? I, like, forgot who, like, half of these people were. Well, like, sort of. I didn't remember Alan Adale, but, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anybody who, like, because, like, in these stories, I think it's truly just, like, Marion is, like, the one lady.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I think she typically has, like, a lady in waiting, but that was the Leech's lady.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that, like, Dr. C and Troy were just, like, randos. Yeah. But I did like that they were, like, part of the gang, and, like, they had them in, like, these costumes versus putting them in, like, dresses and whatever.
Yeah. And
having them be ladies or something with Vosh. I like that they kept them part of, like, the crew.
Yeah. I like that, too. What was I going to say? Honestly, though, if it wasn't for me being excited for your reaction to this episode, I probably wouldn't care that much.
Yeah, I generally skip this one, and it's not because I don't find it entertaining. It's because everything that it bookends is really nothing like it, and it's it's like hardly even a Star Trek episode when you think about it. It just happens to involve those characters. However, I think one of the things that ends up bothering me about it is actually Q isn't really in character very well this episode. Like, it's a comedy episode built around him, but this doesn't really fit with his, like, malevolent god stuff. This is more of Q just being Loki the trickster.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he even says at one point that he doesn't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, to me, the way he's fucking around with everyone, like, it does seem Q, but his motivation for being there and setting this whole thing up is very...
Weak.
Yeah, very weak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's way too personal, for one. Because his things have always been about teaching Picard, not just Picard, but teaching Picard a lesson about humanity.
Yeah,
and
like...
this wasn't that. This was, like, trying to go in on himself, and they do that a lot better later on, but they also leave Q's involvement later on kind of skewed, so, like... I don't know. It's
skewed.
Skewed. Yes. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to ruin anything about what will come later on with him that I think does this same concept much better. But to be perfectly honest, I have a feeling that they worked in Q because they wanted an excuse to do the rest of it.
That's fair. I would say this does kind of have some, like, the human aspect to it purely, but it's weak. It's because Q's whole point, which is kind of stupid, is like that humans are weak because of love, or like Picard is weak because of, but that's like honestly truly the most useless point, because if we've learned anything from TV and movies, love gives you strength.
Yeah,
except
you
for the
didn't know?
Spider-Man movies, because because Peter can't tell Mary Jane. Well, I'm talking about the Tobey Maguire ones, because then she'd be in danger. But, like, does that...
He tells her right at the end of the second one, though.
Yeah, but his excuse for so much of it is that he can't tell her because she'll be in danger, and like would be his weakness. So it's moot.
Well, it's not that the love
it's-
would be his weakness. It's that her being known to people would be a weakness, which is a little bit different than it is here in Star Trek.
Sort of, yeah. No, I get that. I think, though, like, that Q was going for the same sort of, like, the love is weakness when, like, Q, watch a movie once in a while. That's there's so many things of saying it's not, or listen to a song. Like, but the thing that I found did not make a lot of, like, we've met Vosh once. And I kind of, like, I don't remember if I knew that she was coming back or not. Like, it was a surprise to see her here. I don't remember if it was established she was coming back, but you maybe told me, but I just don't remember. But the fact that Q made a whole thing about, like, Vosh being the one of, like, the weakness truly didn't hit for me, because Dr. C is right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, talk about someone who, like, they've had, like some kind of feelings for each other for years now, and they don't really acknowledge. Like, I think it should have been so, like, more around Dr. C.
Yeah.
And that would have been way more, like, emotional and just the higher stakes with Vosh. Yeah, I like Vosh, but, like, throw in Dr. C in this, and, like, I give so much more of a shit.
Yeah.
And then we get character development. Ah!
Well, I have bad news about Vosh.
Oh, she's coming back or she's not coming back? I don't know at this point. Which one
well,
is
then
good
I
news,
won't
which
give
one's
you any bad news.
Yeah.
She technically comes back, but not in TNG.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't have an issue with Vosh. I just think, like, I think she's really fun, but I do think for this kind of point that Q's supposed to, like, trying to make,
It wasn't
was
a good point.
It wasn't a good point to start, but I think it
No.
was a weird point to make with Vosh, especially because this is the second time we've seen her, and we don't even know if her and Picard kept in touch.
That's true.
Because
So,
I think
like-
they made it, like, more emotional than what her episode had been.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So, yeah, that's why it didn't make a ton of sense to me, and I honestly thought there'd be more, like... I wouldn't necessarily want this, but I thought there would have been more, like, tension with, like, Dr. C. But it seems like the only kind of, they didn't even do tension. It was just her and Vosh trying to, like, make things weird for Picard. It wasn't like
Yes.
between them, and I don't want like them to like be like a contest or fighting for Picard's affection or anything like that. But I don't know. I just feel like this would have hit way harder and been more interesting if it was maybe making them have to confront their like feelings a little bit more. And because also, like, why Robin Hood? Like, how did Q settle on Robin Hood in this particular situation? And they even proved the point right at the start when he's like, what's Robin Hood best known for? And Geordie's like, stealing from the rich to give to the poor. And he's like, besides that, I'm like, nothing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
they
That's what he's
pretty
known
much
for.
glossed over the most important thing of Robin Hood, which is this big class divide. And they're just like, well, that part's not important.
Yeah, like if anything, I mean, I think you said Camelot, that would have made more sense. Because then that's a lot more with like, I don't know, like who would been Lancelot in this situation? That would be
Apparently they
weird.
decided
Maybe
against
Riker.
Camelot because they thought it would be boring.
I feel like Camelot would have been interesting, but I guess also now that I think about it, it wouldn't make a lot of sense because the whole thing is like, isn't it Guinevere's with Arthur, but then she also is like in love with Lancelot, and doesn't she like?
Yeah, as far as I remember, she ends up with Lancelot. Like, they go off together or something.
So, okay, so then I get why they wouldn't have done King Arthur, but it makes even, like, less sense for why they would do for Robin Hood.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have been, like, a good sort of scenario, but... Or put Picard in, like, oh, God, what's the name of his detective thing he likes?
Oh, yeah.
Dixon Hill.
That would have made almost more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dixon Hill. That could have worked.
Dixon Hill. I knew there was an X somewhere in one of the
Yeah.
names. I was like, Dexter? No, that's not right. Yeah, that would have honestly made, like, some kind of more sense. Is, like, if they have, like, I don't know. Because, like, with Dixon Hill, it just feels, like, a little bit more grounded. Whereas with Robin Hood, like, this relationship bit, like, what they were trying to prove doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
At least with, like, they throw something in with Dixon Hill, they can make the story around this. I don't know. I suppose you'd have to do a lot of work on Dixon Hill for it to work, but just Robin Hood seems pretty random.
Yeah.
And, like, it's fun, but I don't know. I feel like there's something else they could have done.
Oh, for sure. I feel
something
like
better.
someone just really wanted to do like a medieval type thing and just found a way to shoehorn it into a Star Trek episode.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not opposed to that. I love a
Oh,
costume
yeah,
drama.
yeah.
I love stuff from other eras. I just feel like Robin Hood was a questionable choice.
Yeah, it definitely
That's
was.
fair, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I did like that the whole crew got to be involved. Mm-hmm. Because if only, like, some people came with and, like, some were left behind, that would have sucked.
Yeah.
And I also think, though, that, like, how it started was really funny, of, like, the hat appearing on Dr. C's head first.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would suggest to improve this, but I feel like there could have been a better, like, theme, like, a better story insert.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be, but I feel like there was a better one.
This is a fun episode, but it does not matter.
Oh my
No,
God,
not
what
at
if
all.
Q was King Arthur and Picard was Lancelot? You guys!
That would have been cool.
I would just solved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bridge crew would have been the fucking round table.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I have a question about this episode. Why was Vash's first outfit like a 1990s like white collar cubicle worker woman?
Because they filmed it in the 1990s?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's just way too contemporary for the 90s, I think.
But they made it like sort of a asymmetrical in the front. So different
Barely.
era. So that's their way of showing
Ooh.
different
Ooh.
era.
I have a fun story about the making of this episode, actually. There was a mild accident on set, and so Jonathan Frakes got a cut on his face from it. It was a small one. It wasn't too bad. But they were initially concerned that something had happened to his eye. So What had happened was during, I think, one of the sword fight scenes or something like that, an instrument was broken by a sword, and the string ended up like hitting him in the face.
Oh,
so
geez.
he was rushed to the hospital, just to make sure everything was okay. But he was still in costume.
Oh, amazing.
Yep.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that happened.
I think I remember, I think this would just happen during DS9 because the person was, I forget which person it was, but they were a Cardassian, and I think there was like a huge earthquake in LA at that time, or something happened where they had to evacuate and they were still in their Cardassian makeup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
That is
So,
fantastic.
so they're just driving on the highway like in full makeup.
Oh my god, very good. Very good. If we eventually get to DS9, I definitely want to find out when that happened.
Yeah. Oh, if we're still up to doing a podcast, I definitely want to show Dory DS9.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This didn't feel really like a Q episode,
Yeah.
per se.
If it makes you feel better, one of the best episodes in all of Star Trek is actually a Q episode.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And you won't necessarily know about it.
Mm.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I know which episode you're talking about.
There was one other criticism I had of this, and that's Q being super surprised by the way that Vash literally just decides anything. It doesn't seem to make any sense, considering how well he knows the rest of fucking humanity anytime that he meets someone.
That's the thing, is that he really doesn't, because the only one
okay,
he,
yeah.
interacts with is, Picard and the Enterprise crew. And his version of humanity seems to come solely from that, from these people who are, in a... these highly ethical goody two-shoes who are in a military and on the finest ship in the fleet and stuff.
Yeah,
So
okay, that's a very
when he
good
meets
point.
a human who's who has questionable ethics and morals, he's like, oh, I didn't know they knew how to do that.
Alrighty.
It's like Q's had access to the most ideal focus group.
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, there's other people outside the focus group. Q.
Yeah.
Get a bigger demographic.
Yeah, your sample size needs
Needs work.
improvement. Okay, so with that, let's move on to favorite lines and moments of the episode.
Oh God. So much. Okay, chronological order. Dr. C in the morning meeting Vash and making Picard real uncomfortable. That was amazing. I liked Q saying Jean-Luc, it's wonderful to see you again. How about a big hug? Well, don't just stand there, say something. And Picard goes, get out of my chair. Picard's sorry, Q going, without your assistance on our last encounter, I would have never survived. I would have taken my own life, but for you. And Picard goes, we all make mistakes. That was just so ice cold.
Yeah.
It just what frostbite. It was
Yeah.
so that was such a burn, but yeah, frostbite. I call it a cold burn. Worf going, sir, I protest, I'm not a merry man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked them turning into their characters. I liked them all realizing they're people from the Robin Hood stuff. I liked Worf breaking Geordi's guitar mandolin, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a mandolin.
Yeah, I like Q's. What is the thing that Robin Hood is most famous for? And Geordi being he robs from the rich and gives to the poor. And Q going, besides that. Q going, is Vash's life worth more than Data's or Troy's or Worf's? Worf, you'd make a perfect throw rug in Nottingham Castle. Oh, I thought it was funny when Vosh's lady was like, I'll get you some fresh leeches. Oh, I liked the questionable like rescue plan from the Mary Bridge crew.
Yeah.
Everybody fighting, and then Troy and Dr. C getting to knock out a couple people. And I love the idea of a spin-off between Q and Vosh.
Yeah.
It was a fun episode.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, all of mine are pretty much the same as yours. Like, I especially love the I am not a merry man.
Yeah.
I love when they're bringing Picard and Vosh, like, to the execution, and they're walking down the steps, and Q is, like, lounging on the steps.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought that was really funny. Yeah, I like the look. Like, yeah, John Delancey looked really good, I thought.
That, yeah.
As the sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, it worked for him.
Yeah, I thought the facial hair worked for him. The blue was nice on him.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, this is probably really weird, but I thought Picard looked kind of hot in his pajamas. He had, like, the low V, and, like, it looked really comfortable. It's, like, this little romper.
Oh, yeah, it's his signature little pajamas.
Yeah.
It's adorable. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little weird.
I don't think it's that weird.
Yeah. I think that's it. That isn't just a repeat of yours, Dory.
I think, I mean, I don't want to just repeat stuff either, but I did like when Q's just like, oh, not even a hug, and Picard's like, get out of my chair.
Yeah, that was great.
I like the back and forth that the two of them have in there is very amusing.
Mm-hmm.
But also Riker's I'll alert the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that was great.
Oh, there was another bit where when Q is talking to Picard in bed, and and he's like, oh, like, you know, he says something about him and Vosh bickering or whatever, and he's like, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought you were already married. It's
Yeah.
like, oh God, boomer humor over here.
Yup.
Okay, so now predictions for the next episode. And we're going to get some severe tonal whiplash.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because the next episode is like a really like serious drama episode.
Oh, God.
So the next episode is called The Drumhead.
Okay.
And in this episode, they discover that there is a saboteur aboard, and they must figure out who it is.
Oh, okay. I also don't know what the title means. I don't know.
Oh,
what that
sorry,
word
wait.
is.
Is saboteur the right?
Yes.
No, I know saboteur. I don't know what the title of the episode. I don't. Dumbhead. What is it?
No, drumhead. So
Drum.
it's kind
I
of
don't know
it's
what
kind
that
of a
means.
reference to a military court-martial.
Oh.
Yeah, but like a drumhead trial or a drumhead court-martial would be what do you call it? A trial that was conducted like out in the field, because it was considered like, okay, well, we don't have time to go, you know, halfway across the world to go deal with this. This has to be dealt with right now. You have to be tried and convicted right here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We've got a saboteur on board. Is it O'Brien? No, I'm kidding.
Get out.
Is it Reg? No, I can't imagine it'd be someone we know because, like...
The episode is mostly about the process of finding the saboteur, so how do you think they go about?
Ooh. Well, if I didn't already know they can't do Sherlock Holmes shit, I would have said Data puts on his hat and him and Geordi start to investigate, but I know that's not allowed.
I also wouldn't have called that a serious drama episode.
Oh, that's true. Oh, okay. So are they trying to, like, figure out who the, like, saboteur is, or they're just, like, setting up the, like, trial?
They're trying to figure out who it is on board.
Ooh. Okay, they set a trap. No. And are they sabotaging the ship?
I wonder if sabotage... Okay. Is
Is it like a mole, then?
Yeah, sabotage isn't maybe quite the right thing. It's like more like they They have a spy.
A spy.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out who the spy is.
Okay. Okay, so maybe... Okay. So maybe they picked up a group of people who maybe, like, they're bringing them to a different location, but they're Starfleet.
You're trying
still?
really hard not to say planet, aren't you?
Oh, no, honestly, I didn't think about planet at all. No, I just, because, like, I figure, like, in motion, so they pick up these people from either, like, a planet or, like, a station, doesn't matter. And these are people that are going to be, like, joining another ship. Mm-hmm. And so, like, they're part of Starfleet, and they... I made it sound like that was spooky. And so maybe they've, like, allowed them to, like, learn about the ship in the meantime, and then they notice things are, like they notice, like, oh, some information has changed from, like, from the computer and this and that, and they're like, well, it's gotta be maybe, like, whoever is doing it, one of these, like, mysterious, like, people from Starfleet are, like, stealing the secrets from the ship. Mm-hmm. And, like, sending in, like, a mobile device down to, like, the ship they're going to, but giving them information that they shouldn't know about. That could either make, like, the Enterprise look bad, or it's just, like, purely, like, they're not actually, maybe they're, like, have an alliance to another group who are trying to take down Starfleet and the Enterprise. If any of that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. Whatever nonsense I just said there.
All right, well, if you'd like to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.